It's great to see so many people here filling the gym to welcome Carson Kressley. Besides being handsome and brilliant, Carson Kressley's success is due to his focus on collaboration and innovation, which are two of the hallmarks of the Philadelphia University Nexus Learning approach. It's an academic experience that we believe is critical for your success in the 21st century. It's exactly why we are ranked one of the top 50 fashion schools in the world by Fashionista, 18th in the nation for physician assistant studies, top ranked for our unique midwifery program in U.S. News and World Report, and just last Friday, our interior design program was ranked 10th in the nation by Design Intelligence. Congratulations. I could go on and brag about all the accomplishments of our students and faculty, but right now I'd like to brag a little bit about Carson Kressley. As an award-winning Emmy television star, Dr. Carson Kressley is one of the most recognized figures in fashion, style, and entertainment, and he's become a very important part of the Philadelphia University family. I'm pleased to announce that he is a newly elected member of the Philadelphia University Board of Trustees. It's an honor for us to have him as an official part of our family. Congratulations to us and congratulations to Carson. Carson was the fashion guru on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. He's the host of How to Look Good Naked. It is really a little uncomfortable saying that when you're standing in front of all your people. And Carson Nation, and he's an aspiring dancer on Dancing with the Stars. He's a best-selling author. He's a stage actor. He's a fashion designer. Carson got his start working at Ralph Lauren. He is one of the most talented people I know. He has had an amazing career, and before I bring him out here, I want to invite all of you to Philadelphia University's first Style Summit, hosted by Dr. Kressley, on Thursday, March 27th. We have 129 years of experience in the fashion and textile industry that has created an international network of headliners, industry partners, design houses, and successful alumni. You'll get to meet a number of them during this Style Summit. We hope you'll join us for that, and will be an exciting day to explore the many facets of fashion and style. Now, please welcome our student interviewers, fashion design major Emily Ray, and fashion merchandising major Sylvia Chun, and a man for all seasons, our good friend, Dr. Carson Kressley.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. Brilliant and handsome. You forgot that I was a midwifery major. I love that, midwifery. It sounds so Harry Potter. Okay, carry on.
Well, Carson, first of all, thank you for coming to Philadelphia University. We're really excited for you to be here. Just since we're short on time, we're just going to get started. So if you could tell us more about your background.
Yes, mostly Caucasian. I am actually from Allentown, Pennsylvania. So one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be here at Philadelphia University is to really spread the word that there's a world-class design school right here in our own backyards. And I think, you know, if I had known about Philadelphia University when I was growing up, I probably would have been here because it's so inspiring. And when you come to the campus and you meet the faculty and you meet the students, I spent all morning going to different classes on garment structure and a merchandising class, and then a really amazing kind of business class where they were deconstructing different business models and showing, you know, their weaknesses and their strengths. And what really impressed me about Philadelphia University is innovation, which I think is so important to anybody studying any career today, especially the fashion and design businesses, and also collaboration. And I really appreciate the university's focus on really having students collaborate and also bringing people like me who maybe aren't, you know, the traditional kind of academic person coming in and looking at things from a different perspective. Oh, my background. I really should have taken my Ritalin. Ooh, basketball. My background, so I have a liberal arts education from Gettysburg College. I decided I wanted to work in the fashion industry. And I worked for Ralph Lauren for 7 years, and I started out very much like the Devil Wears Prada, but they were really nice there. and I was Ralph's brother's assistant, and I was there like, buying lunch for people and picking up, dry cleaning, all the glamorous things that you too will get to do when you first enter the world of design. And, but it was a great education for me, and I learned all aspects of the business, and working for a major design house was a real bonus for me because I really got my fashion education there, because I learned about merchandising, I learned about marketing, I learned about communications. I was always a risk taker, and someone said, "Did you hear about this show, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy? It's on Bravo." And I was like, "No, what's Bravo?" And I took a chance and was the fashion expert on that show, and it's brought so many opportunities, and it's really allowed me to get back to my first love, which is design, and also a great opportunity to come back here and work with students.
How did you first become interested in fashion? Besides working with Ralph, was there any like poignant moment in your life where you're like, that's it?
You know what? I think I was always interested in design, and I was like so many young boys, I wanted to shop for my sister's prom gown. And I was like, "No, you've got to go with the white column tunic dress. Sorry, we're not doing pastels this season." Prom queen, hello. But I think, the first thing is that I just, I saw the power that, especially for fashion, I saw the power that clothing had to transform. And just, growing up in Allentown in the 1970s, not the most fashion-forward place, but it was still a time when people really took care of what they wore and how they presented themselves. And I have, great memories of my mom like wearing like a Bob Mackie-esque gown to go to like a cocktail party, which is probably right out of the Ice Storm without the keys in the bowl part. So we were very Lutheran. And just watching people get dressed, I thought was fascinating, and it was amazing how you could go from like one persona to another just by changing your clothes. So that, was kind of the incubator for thinking that, design and clothing was really cool.
What would you consider your biggest break?
Probably a lot of people would think it would be like being on TV and gaining that exposure from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, but I think my biggest break was probably not having a plan. Everyone in academics loves to hear that. I didn't have a plan at all. But I got a great education, which was really important, and then I just knew that I wanted to live in New York City and I wanted to work in the design industry, and I literally just like made a list of companies that I thought had a great corporate culture, and Ralph Lauren was one of them. I went for an interview and got a job, and it really, that was my education in the design world.
You just spoke about Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. How was the 10th anniversary recently?
Yes, it's been 10 years, can you believe it? My nose is only 5 years old, but the show's 10. Looking back, it was, we did a reunion special for Bravo, which aired a couple weeks ago. We just did one with Oprah yesterday for their Where Are They Now? Looking back at it after 10 years, we're still incredibly proud of it.
Do you have a favorite specific moment?
There was a really hot figure skater, and we went to Armani, and he was like one of those guys I was like, you really don't need a makeover, but let's go shopping. You better take your shirt off right now. So that was fun, like on a superficial note, but there was one, it's like in his late 60s, and he had lost his wife, and he had really kind of like lost his way and didn't really like have a lot of passion in his life anymore, and was just kind of walking through life a little bit, like a zombie. And it took the 5 of us, which is really weird, like 5 gay guys busting into his apartment to kind of re-energize him and jumpstart him and show him that there was still a lot of, life ahead for him. And, he was so grateful at the end of it, and he was crying, and I almost cried. That was a favorite moment for me.
When, I guess, advice to future students coming here, what would you say to the parents?
I mean, the fashion business is one of the biggest industries in the world. It's not a frivolous thing to study, and that there are so many avenues to explore in the fashion business. You could, work with sustainability, which is a big emerging thing right now. I just went to the Lexus did a big presentation in New York where they did the Eco Design Challenge, and it was about sustainable fibers, and living in a sustainable world. There's fashion merchandising, there's fashion PR, there's interior design. There's so many jobs that come out of that central hub of design. So I think fashion and design is such a part of our culture now. You know, we have television shows about fashion. We have Project Runway. We have famous designers who are like rock stars. But it's also a gigantic business. And there's so many avenues to make a living in the design world. And like I said, you can be a fashion publicist. You can be someone that's inventing the newest type of yarn. You can work in the television industry. You can work in entertainment, in publishing. I just think that design is such a great kind of basis for so many jobs. And what I would tell students too is that, you know, you want to be passionate about what you do. And there's, you know, don't just think about your dream, like actually start doing it. And also, you know, when I gave the commencement address this spring, you know, one thing that I think holds people back is sometimes they think what they should do. Oh, I should study like accounting and finance and I'll get a solid job and it'll make my parents happy. But you really only get one shot at your life and your career and your life's work, and finding your passion is so important that if you're passionate about it and you work hard and you have a great education, I think you can have a fantastic career and a great life in the design community.
You were last year's commencement speaker, and now you're on the board of trustees. Why do you love Philadelphia University so much?
I wanted to come give the commencement address because they asked and they said, we'll give you an honorary doctor. So I changed all of my business cards. I'm like, I'm a doctor now. Let me look at that mole. I'm a doctor now. But I think the great thing is that Philadelphia University has always kind of embraced me. And that's a really fantastic feeling. And, you know, our relationship started with the Evening of Innovation and doing a scholarship in my name, which was an honor and wonderful. And then coming here and seeing the work that's happening on campus, you can't help but be energized about what's going on. So, you know, that's one part. And then also, I'm from Pennsylvania. This is kind of like my hometown. And I think it's really great that there's a world-class, you know, design school right here, and you know, you can get a fantastic education. You don't have to, you know, go to some other schools that maybe are more well known. And I think, you know, being on the board, I can, you know, the one thing that I can certainly do, I talk a lot and I talk to a lot of people, and I just really think we need to get the word out about what a fantastic education you can get here, and that it's, you know, it's world class.
So you personally have worn so many different hats within the fashion industry. You've been on Dancing with the Stars, you've written books, you had Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, you have a new fashion line called Love Carson. How important do you think it is to be able to reinvent yourself constantly?
I think it really, now more than ever, it's about reinvention. And I think that's a byproduct of how fast the world moves today. And I think, you know, 100 years ago, you studied to be like a podiatrist or a midwife. And you were kind of, you know, set in your career, and the world didn't change that quickly. But with the speed at which information flows today, I think you always have to be reinventing. And I think in the design business, it's about what's new, what's now, what's next. So it's always about reinventing and always looking for opportunities and always being entrepreneurial. And in my business, I mean, it's very mercurial. So I've always had to look for the next thing, because while you're working on one thing, you know that's going to end and you have to think of the next thing. And it's just like in design, when I'm designing a collection, we're selling, you know, holiday clothing right now, but in my head, we're thinking like what's going to happen in July or next fall. So it's about being one step ahead and being entrepreneurial. And the other thing that I've always done, I've always taken risks, and I always say yes to all these opportunities. Like, do you want to do Dancing with the Stars? Why not? Do you want to write this book? Yeah, I would love to. So really just taking advantage of every opportunity, not a big one to say, oh, I don't know, I better think about that. I say yes and then I figure it out later.
That being said, do you think saying yes has helped your company grow?
Yes. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky because being on TV, I had a platform to kind of communicate and let the world know about things that I was working on. But obviously my love has always been design, whether it's interiors or clothing, and I'm really fortunate. And having celebrities certainly opens the door to like getting in to see the people and telling them about your vision, but you have to have an amazing product. All of those factors have helped us grow our business from doing 1 or 2 shows a year and selling X amount of dollars to doing like 6 to 12 shows a year. It's really about staying in touch with the customer, knowing what they want, being able to lead them in a way that's comfortable but still allows them to enjoy clothing and fashion and color and print. So it's growing, and we're really excited. But it is a big process in making sure you know how to grow it, and you have to be strategic about it.
When you first began in the fashion industry, were you intimidated by other people?
Oh, was I intimidated by other people? Not really. No, it is daunting, I think, because, and I totally was, walking into a meeting and like, some of your idols are there and Ralph Lauren is sitting there, of course, one day, like the first time I met Ralph Lauren, it was very like the Friends episode with Rachel in the elevator, but he was in the elevator and I walked into the elevator. I was like, should I be in the elevator? Should I not be in the elevator? And then I walked in the elevator and of course I had like, skinny corduroys on with lobster embroidery, and then I had like a ribbon belt, and I had a blue gingham shirt, and I was working in the golf design division, and he just kind of looked me up and down, he goes, golf, and I was like, and then I just looked at him, I go, billionaire, and I was like, should we keep going? And then, thank God, we were only going to 3, but yeah, it can be intimidating. But I think instead of viewing it as intimidating, I think it's just a matter of like, some people have more experience than others, and I think you don't have to be intimidated. And despite, what popular culture may show the fashion industry as being kind of cutthroat and negative and catty and all that, I think there's amazing people who are real artists and real passionate about their craft and what they do. And it's also a very giving industry where people are always happy to share with you what they know. So I think don't be intimidated. I think just, soak up all the knowledge, and then you'll get to be the intimidating one later. Sort of.
We have another question from a student.
Okay.
Thomas Cambria, who's in fashion merchandising and management, class of 2015. His question is, what is your inspiration?
And then inspiration comes like, for an actual clothing collection, I think it comes from so many places, and it could be like the color story of these flowers could be amazing. A lot of things come from nature. A lot of things come from film. A lot of things come from traveling. A lot of things come from being in the marketplace too. And, what's so valuable is I just went to High Point, North Carolina for the International Furniture Market, and there's like millions of acres of furniture. And that was really inspiring from a fashion standpoint because I saw lots of new materials, film, television, the arts, go to museums, see different, go to the Barnes Foundation and see the Modiglianis, and like, you can find inspiration almost everywhere. And I always try and photograph it. And it's just like, I don't know why I'm taking a picture of this mushroom, but I know it'll come in handy later. And then like, 2 weeks later, like, I think we need a mushroom color. I was like, wait, I have a picture. And I think it's just about being open to inspiration and knowing that it's absolutely everywhere.
What retail company do you think is the most successful today, and why?
Oh, what retail company do I think is the most successful and why? There's so many. I think any brand that has real authenticity and great leadership and also creates quality products, I think those are successful. Certainly Ralph Lauren, is this multi-billion-dollar worldwide company that started with a guy who was, selling ties to Bloomingdale's out of the trunk of his car, which is a great, story for anybody. I think that's great, but success is not necessarily all about, the profit margin and about how big you are. I mean, a successful company could be, a mom who started making, sustainable baby clothing in her garage because she couldn't find any in the marketplace. Because success is when, in the marketplace is when you fill the need and someone wants to buy your stuff. So I think it runs the gamut. And there are so many success stories nowadays. It's a great time to be entrepreneurial because there's a point of entry into the business space that there's never been before. and it's so easy to collaborate with manufacturers, and it's so easy to communicate all over the globe and maybe work with someone who's partnering with you in Vietnam and who's sending your product here to be sold at a local store in Philadelphia. It's a great time to be entrepreneurial. So that was a long answer. I also love J. Crew, but that's just because. And I think they do a great job. I think also telling a story and engaging people, there's a lot of great products out there, but if you don't engage the customer, you don't know what you want until you see what you want. Sometimes you have to be presented it. So I think J. Crew does a great job with that. But there's tons of companies that I admire.
Going off that, what advice would you give a new designer wanting to start their own line? This is from Gina Ferraro, class of 2015.
Oh, their own line. Certainly you have to be passionate about it because it is so much work. And there are so many obstacles, and you're going to have to struggle through so many things. But in the end, it's absolutely, ultimately worth it and so gratifying and fantastic. And I think you need to be an amazing collaborator because there are so many people that you're going to need along the way to help your dream become a reality. You are going to have to be really open to change. I think sometimes we have a very narrow idea of what our product is and how it needs to look and what it's going to be. And then we'll get some information along the way that customers don't like that. There's not a way to market that. And you have to constantly, like your path has to be kind of circuitous, like a river, and it needs to go where there's less opposition. But I think it's really about hard work, collaboration, and being inventive and being creative. There's so much room for new businesses out there.
So we'd like to open the floor up to questions from the audience.
Okay.
I'm a fashion merchandising major, and it seems like the only job is like a buyer, but that's extremely hard. So I was wondering if you could like give me more insight on what jobs there are, like in that whole, I guess, marketplace, besides a buyer.
Besides being a buyer? Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Like merchandising to me was always like a weird thing because like my interaction with merchandisers are buyers. So like we'll present a collection and the buyer comes in and says, we like this, 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 and this. I don't think we can sell the green. Oh, I don't like that shape. And they are really the link between the designer and the customer because they are the gatekeeper of what actually makes it into the stores. But less literal versions of being a merchandiser. I think it's really about being a merchant. And it can be about curate, a really fun creative way is curating a collection. And there's, 10 years ago, there weren't all these amazing websites where you could find exactly what you want, curated by somebody. And, and they're called like hotmama.net, and it's like sexy maternity clothes. I was like, who knew? But you can be a curator and you can really be a merchant. You can open your own store and, do like, there's this whole movement back to like, handcrafted, made in America, artisanal things, where you can be really hands-on. It's very direct. There's things, like being part of a big merchant team for, catalogs or websites like One King's Lane. So I don't think it needs to be, merchandising needs to be the career of, I'm going to, work for the Bon Ton. I'm going to go into their career training program. I'm going to buy for, these 19 stores in my region. I think you can be more creative with it now because there are so many outlets now. We have so many ways to reach the customer. Oh, the question was, would I go beyond ready-to-wear sportswear and do like couture gowns and stuff? I probably wouldn't because I don't really know what I'm doing in that arena. What I love about design is like I love that things that like really busy working women, moms, that they can pop this item on, they instantly feel transformed and glamorous, and it's really useful for their everyday. I think it would be fun as an artist to do that, and I would definitely love to like, design the costumes for the next Cher farewell tour, which I'm sure should be rolling around any minute now. But I think that's a wonderful like niche, but it's probably not the one for me.
When you were growing up, who was your biggest fashion icon?
When I was growing up, who was my biggest fashion icon? Like I said, I grew up in Allentown, and I didn't see a lot of glamorous people at the farmer's market. However, so you're feeling me, okay? But I was inspired a lot by television. Like, you know, there was such great costuming on TV in the 70s. I mean, basically everything that Elizabeth Montgomery ever wore on Bewitched. How about Lovey Howell with her, like, woven straw hat with Marabou? Anybody holding a cocktail made out of a pineapple was fantastic. And there was like great mid-century influences. Like if you want to be inspired, watch some Brady Bunch early seasons. I mean, it's all about the print and the tunic right now. So I got a lot of inspiration from television. And I also got a lot of inspiration, like I was saying, from my mom, who, like, even though we were like very middle class like family that didn't really do exciting things, like she would go to parties and wear like evening gowns, and you would dress a certain way to go to church. And like literally like my kindergarten picture of my first day by the school bus where I'm crying like crazy because I didn't want to go. I'm wearing like basically a Michael Kors leisure suit. It was like blue and gray plaid pants, blue and gray plaid blazer, and a navy turtleneck. Yeah, and like loafers, which doesn't exist anymore, you know, which is sad. But I think that era, there was a lot of really cool stuff going on. Highly flammable, but very cool. Yes, we'll bring you a mic right there.
Hi, so I'm a prospective student, but what's your favorite part of the design process?
I think I probably have two. I think the initial design part where you're putting together the storyboard, whether it's an interior or whether it's for a fashion collection, I think that's the really exciting part where you're like, oh my God, I just saw The Great Gatsby. Like, this is a true story. I saw The Great Gatsby like in July of like last year. And then I decided that our holiday collection was going to be all about Gatsby. And they're like, feathers aren't really marketable. And I was like, well, we're going to figure it out. And we did all this kind of like Art Deco stud treatment on big, long cocoon cardigans. And that really like gets your creative juices flowing and makes the entire design process from that point onward really exciting and energized. And then the second most exciting part is when we actually get the first samples and we see what the actual physical garment looks like. And you're like, wow, like this actually became a reality. It's like The Secret. Like you think it and then it shows up. And then the other great thing is also, there's a lot of great things, is shooting it for like a catalog or for an advertisement. And then when you actually like see somebody on the street saying, do you remember this? And I'm like, yes, I remember XJ94402-1 in summer midnights. Of course I do. And seeing somebody actually enjoying the product and saying, I really love this jacket and I felt so great when I wore it, that's probably the best part.
Do you think that just in the United States, like living on the East Coast or the West Coast makes a huge like impact on a potential fashion career?
I think that, I think you can find inspiration anywhere. And I think certainly like New York is the hotbed, I think, because, you know, a lot of your resources are there. There's tremendous fabric resources. There's tremendous job opportunities there. There's a lot of inspiration on the street. There's great museums. But I do think now more than ever, we're seeing amazing fashion designers who live all over. There's like Alabama Channon, who lives in Florence, Alabama, where Billy Reed also lives. And they have a really unique perspective, and they have a tremendous fashion business, and it's based on where they live and where they're from. And a lot of their inspiration comes from their Southern roots and their tradition. So that's a great example of you can kind of be anywhere. I don't think you have to live in New York. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's something, that's one of the other great things about Philadelphia University is that it's, you know, an hour-and-a-half train ride from the fashion epicenter of the world. And I know people will tell you that it's Paris or Milan, but they're lying. It is New York. Because I think that's where, you know, a lot of those places like Paris and Milan, yeah, they're great fashion centers, but New York is also a business epicenter, and more fashion is not just an art or a craft, it's an industry.
I was wondering if you thought that was something that the fashion industry should get more into, or what are your beliefs on making clothes here in the United States?
The benefits of that, besides, being patriotic and loving the United States and wanting to bring design jobs back to, back to the U.S., is that it's incredibly practical, because I can actually see how a garment is coming along. I can see how it's being built. I can see changes that need to be made, and I'm not like FedExing it back and forth to Hong Kong, and I'm not waiting for customs. And it's really, really practical. And I think it resonates with the customer. And when I'm on air and I'm talking about, where the garment was made and how it was inspired and that we make it in the United States, I think people really respect that, and it adds value to the garment, and people respond to it positively. And I think we're seeing the tide is turning, and we're seeing, industry coming back here, and we certainly have tremendous obstacles, as far as, trying to do things for a certain price and trying to get a great value. But I think people value things made in America, and it holds value, and they're willing to pay a little bit more for it, and it's a great thing.
What is your biggest mistake, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, they were called parachute pants. Picture this, it's 1987. I had just finished watching Growing Pains with Kirk Cameron and a guy named Alan Thicke, which I love. Everybody who's young, like, who's Alan Thicke? I'm like, it's Robin Thicke's dad, he was on TV. No, my biggest mistake, I don't know. I think sometimes, and this is just a general one, but sometimes your ego can get in the way, and you'll be like, well, we're just going to do it my way. And then, like, you kind of alienate, like, a partner. And I'm very independent. And sometimes, it's very easy to put your blinders on, just like, I'm just going to do it my way, and this is how it's going to be. And you really have to be, you have to play well with others and be nice, because ultimately, like, I've even learned this, like, in the TV business. So I was like, that was the dumbest meeting I've ever been to. And then, like, 2 seconds later, that person is now the head of the network. I'm like, oh my God, that was such a great idea. So it's about being collaborative and being diplomatic and not burning bridges. I think that's a really important thing. And when you're like, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm very, like, independent. Like, you sometimes just have to dial back the independent thing a little bit. And then parachute pants, which, Google them, you'll see why.
One of the things that I'm really looking forward to and really want to see happen is for the fashion industry to change. So I want to know what things you would want to see change in the fashion industry.
We're lucky because the fashion industry, like, inherently is always about change, and it's always about evolution, and it's about, the definition of fashion is something that's new, and what's hot right now. I think the fashion industry has been getting better. I think sustainability is a really big hot button right now, and I think people are realizing that we have to be really careful with, where our materials come from. Are those materials sustainable? Are they healthy? Nothing's more intimate than the things that you put actually on your body. So, healthy clothing. I think diversity and embracing, there's a world of different fashion consumers out there, and I think the media and the fashion magazines, and I talked a little bit about this on my show, How to Look Good Naked, was that, they're marketing to, like, basically, like, the person that's pictured in the ad is like a 14-year-old girl from Yugoslavia, okay, that hasn't eaten for, like, several weeks. But the actual consumer in the United States is a size 14. She likes to wear colors. She likes pattern. I think, sometimes we need to be a little bit more sensitive to actually who our audience is. And then the third thing I think that, would be a great change in the business, I think sometimes it's about responsibility. And I think sometimes bottom line and huge companies sometimes forget that, but making things domestically, making things that are sustainable, just doing a little bit to be a little bit more responsible. And world peace.
Hi. Now that you're on the board of trustees for the school, do you think you would ever offer internships for students here?
Internships. I actually did an internship with an amazing student who came and worked with us all summer long. She's now doing the study abroad program in Rome, so she's not here today, unfortunately. But yeah, I think I think internships are incredibly valuable because you learn so many great things here in the classroom, but going to pick up my dry cleaning is invaluable. No, I'm kidding. I didn't make her do that. I think you know, as many internships and as many different like real world situations you can be in, they're so, they're very educational, but I think even more from like what you're gonna learn on the internship, I think even more it's about building relationships. And meeting the girl that sat in the cube next to you, and she is moving to New York as well, and you can get an apartment together, which is a big, huge deal. And having a relationship with your boss who maybe just got a new job and she's looking for someone to come work with her. I think internships are really about like making friends and building relationships and making contacts, and not really learn, you know, as much about, you know, learning how to, you know, send out marketing mailers for 6 months. It's really about relationships, and they're great.
Hi, I just wanted to know what your favorite trend for fall is and what your not, like your most hated trend is.
I mean, I think right now, you know, amazing sweaters right now are really great. I mean, there's so much, like, I love the architecture of them and how you can do like giant cables and waffles. And I just think the sweater is just like the perfect like fall thing. It's not really a trend. It's more like my favorite item. And my least favorite, there was something that I was recently asked what my least favorite like fashion item was. I am kind of over the bandage dress. You know, it's like the Kardashian staple, and it's just like, I've had it.
I know there are a lot of different jobs in the fashion industry. How do you know which one's right for you?
When I was like going to school, I was so envious of people that wanted to be like a podiatrist. And they're like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna open my thing. And they had a clear path, and I thought that was so great. And I was just, you know, people were like, what's your 5-year plan? I was like, I don't know what I'm doing on Tuesday, okay? So I think that if you're not sure about what you want, you know, design offers so many opportunities. I have to fix my mic here. I wish Madonna was here to tell me how. There's so many opportunities, and I think you really, it's about trial and error sometimes. And you may know that you love design, but there's so much you can do. And, you know, that's where internships are really amazing. But you're also young, and there's lots of opportunities out there. So if you think you're interested in fashion publicity, give it a try. And if that doesn't work out, you can move into, you know, the design space. It's not so rigid that you can only do one thing and you can't make a change of course. I think, you know, now more than ever, people are changing their jobs all the time. And as long as you're passionate about it and you have a basic skill set, and that's, again, Philadelphia University, I think, you know, you are well-versed in a lot of different areas in the fashion world and in the design world that you can migrate from PR to design to marketing to communications. I think you should try it out. And I think ultimately the thing that you know, will sometimes find you.
So much for spending time with us today.
You're welcome. You can tweet me your questions. If you have a question, I feel bad, and I'm such a giver. So if you have a question we didn't get to, just send me a tweet. No, sit down. Sit down. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. You were fantastic.